26 with us now. Major John Spencer, Colonel Mike Jernigan. Colonel, as the ranking officer, we will start with you. This latest round of strikes, combined with the news that there has been this massive movement of oil through the Strait of Hormuz, does that shall I say, does that force the Iranians to reevaluate their strategic position?
Good evening, Leland. I don't think so. We don't have a deal because the Iranians don't want to have a deal. Until recently, they didn't have to give up anything, and they weren't getting bombed. And so what you're seeing right now is the president running out of patience. The question is, as the sun comes up and we see all the targets that are struck, is it just one day of running out of patience, or is this him really running out of patience? And we're going to start the kinetic options all over again. To again answer your question, I don't think this changes the Iranians' calculus because they are trying to delay and stretch out this war as long as possible so they can continue to support Hezbollah in Lebanon.
Yeah, and the closer they get to the midterms, the harder it gets for President Trump to do anything. So the time is on their side. Major, something that is peculiar to me in this is we keep hearing about how Central Command's target list is mostly radar sites and air defense systems. After 30-plus days of what we were told was U.S. air supremacy and the Israelis flying nonstop missions over Iran, how does Iran have any air defenses left?
That's a great question, and understanding whether China or anybody else brought anything under. I mean, really, this is a realization of what we don't know. What was in the bunkers that they did start to dig out in the last 8 weeks as they've tried to play President Trump for a fool. I'm actually not buying that. As much as we knew from the June 2025 12-day war of Israel to include this last operation, as President Trump does have a timeline, we don't know it. And 49 Tomahawk missiles rained down on those radars. And Leland, 2 days ago, Israel rained down missiles on Iranian radar systems as well. So maybe they're clearing the way, making it more feasible for a massive operation. And the president said it tonight, Iran understands force. So I think he understands what's necessary. He gave the negotiation a plan and they're telling him something, but he understands that if having to, he'll apply a lot of force. And I think the Secretary of War has signaled that he's prepared to do that.
Yeah, this is perhaps the most crucial part of today, this idea that there was massive amounts of oil flowing out from the Persian Gulf, not from Iran, but from allied countries. Here's President Trump and Pete Hegseth talking about the Strait of Hormuz. Take a listen.
But we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil, millions of barrels. Every night we took out oil.
Project Freedom, the idea of running ships through the Strait of Hormuz, it never stopped. It just went underground. We've been protecting commercial shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz, as the president announced, to the tune of over 100 million barrels that have moved through and more in the middle of the night, protected by the United States in a way that Iran can't stop.
Colonel, that in and of itself takes away one of maybe 2 or 3 Iranian cards they have left to play.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a significant blow to the Iranians' largely internal messaging. You know, they've got their own internal audience that they're trying to convince that they're winning this war. And with the oil tankers being, escorted out at night, that is removing both their economic leverage, obviously, but also it's removing their credibility. They're saying the Straits of Hormuz are closed. And, when we started this, there were 1,600 ships inside the Straits of Hormuz. There were 1,000 ships outside the Straits of Hormuz. The U.S. has disabled 8 ships. The Iranians pirated 4 ships. So there's still about 1,000 ships that need to be accounted for. And so it's good to see that they're moving quietly through and commerce is flowing again.
Major, when Pete Hegseth says in a way that Iran can't stop, what does that mean?
It means, as we saw in the 38-day, despite the down F-15, is that the United States is able to achieve air superiority immediately over Iran. And despite this Monty Python, I'm still strong element, no matter what is done to them, is that the United States can and will turn back those thousands of bombers to be able to hit things that we haven't hit yet. And one of the things that was hit recently was Keshem Island. So some of the ability for Iran to influence the Strait of Hormuz is Keshem Island, Tariq Island, Hormuz Island. You could make those go away, and we just haven't, because we do have other factors in what is the day after of achieving this deal.
Colonel, last to you. What are we to watch for in terms of a target package that would signal a disproportional response, that the U.S. Wanted to send an unmistakable message, not the message we've sent, that is, we want to go back to the status quo?
I think, Leland, you're going to see a couple of things. You're going to see a continuation of getting rid of the missile launchers, the mobile missile launchers, and the radar batteries, and the air defenses that they have reconstituted in the last 8 weeks. But I think you're also going to start seeing more infrastructure targets. You're going to see bridges that can be used to move missile supplies from the central Iran to the coast. You're going to see factories that have dual use, and one of the uses is military. I think when the sun comes up, we're going to see a lot of targets that weren't typically considered in the first round because they were not an immediate threat to American and Israeli aircraft.
The Iranian national security spokesman threatened to seize land. During the 40-day war, the extent of Iran's territorial waters increased. In the next war, perhaps the extent of Iran's land will increase. Major, that strikes me as just kind of fanciful, but maybe I'm reading it wrong.
I wouldn't imagine it. I mean, I'm not saying I want them. You don't interrupt your enemy when they're making mistakes, is the adage. If they thought they were going to go to Azerbaijan, Iraq, or somewhere like that, it'd be a bad day for them. I don't. This is that whole message of strength that they aren't, as their leadership have been living in a bunker, and should be very scared that this turns back on. I think we need probably new leadership that is willing to make a deal, which is a part of the applying force to compel your enemy to do your will.
Yeah, Colonel, that's a great point, because we have seemed to stop talking about regime change inside Iran. Does today do enough to make a significant step towards that, or are we still doing the kabuki dance with the current regime?
I think this is enough of a step to convince the Iranians that they do need to make a deal to give up their nuclear weapon aspirations. Is it enough? That's the real question. And we're not really going to know until we start seeing the targets that come up. I doubt it. But I'm also not concerned. The Iranians seem to have forgotten that we have thousands of Army soldiers from the 82nd Airborne in the region that can literally drop in however long it takes to fall safely out of an airplane anywhere in their country. There's also 2 Marine Expeditionary Units with about 5,000 Marines, among the other things, trained to take oil fields and islands. That's where they made their history in World War II. And so we're quietly, like we were quietly not talking about ships coming through the cover of darkness, we're also quietly not talking about that there's about 10,000 combat troops in the area that can, on a moment's notice, change the calculus really, really significantly.
Yeah, especially if they took some of the oil export terminals that the Iranians have. Colonel, Major, thank you both very much. Gents, good to see you.